Hi, welcome. My name is Dale McCluskey. On this video, I want to take a few minutes to talk about being dialed in differently when it comes to the picture of change. And this is where, again, when people watch my videos, trainers watch my videos, many times they completely almost like lose their mind because, again, understand they're looking at things a certain way. Okay, they're all focused entirely on appearances a certain way, with motivating dogs a certain way, and with assuming things a certain way, based again on the kind of typical picture of the sit down, come and stay responses that way. Okay, and understand that I'm not focused that way at all, because I'm focused again on being dialed in differently. Again, when I talk about being dialed in differently, just again consider the parenting example. I encourage you really think about the parenting example to help in terms of a foundation of understanding as to why it is that you want to do training through a interaction-based approach versus jumping in and motivating dogs to respond in a very superficial way, which amounts to basically bribery. Okay, and and then again wondering why it is that behavioral issues are not going away. And then again, what's very common is dogs get the blame. Okay, understand this is very common. This is a culture. So again, when I'm doing training, okay, when I'm engaging a relationship problem, just like a parent, okay, who is dialed in, okay, is proactive, because they're proactive because they already know where they're at. Understand, this is a big part of it, is knowing in terms of relationship, okay, in terms of behavioral issues and everything that's happening, okay, having an awareness, okay, of of understanding what needs to happen, okay, advocating your role that way. So again, being dialed in differently, engage differently, invest it differently, invest it. Just like the example I use is that as a parent, once you're aware that you have that kind of epiphany that what, I got a problem on my hands here. I mean, you have that realization. Well, it's the moment your feet hit the floor. Okay, in the morning, you're dialed in. And you're starting to engage. And again, I talk about influence, just like parental influence. I talk about the reasonableness of what what you're doing. And again, this is one of the things that's really gets twisted in the dog training world, because this idea is so popular, and then people can't even get their heads around anything different. So they just automatically assume that, well, if you're not accepting what the dog training world is offering up that way, it must automatically mean abuse. Right? And so when you do see abuse, understand this is generally coming from the optics, okay, of say balanced training, with the confusion, because they're dialed in, not dialed in, they're they're aligned with the same idea, and so the confusion comes from influence. So if you look at I encourage you to research the Bonker controversy as a prime example of what I'm talking about, and you can watch that on some of my other videos, which are very helpful with understanding the confusion that surrounds a process in the role of influence. But again, when I talk about, when people watch my videos or watch what I do, understand they struggle because they've already aligned themselves a certain way. They're already thinking a certain way. So they don't see me, looking at or building the picture the same way. They don't see me rewarding dogs. Okay, that drives people crazy. They don't see me rewarding dogs, because when you're rewarding, understand something. Really think about this. When you're rewarding, you're assuming something. Right? Think about it. When you're rewarding, you're assuming something. I'm not assuming that at all, because I know that, to assume is to assume wrongly. And it's not even about, and I understand people want to pet on their dogs and want to engage that way, but, which makes you feel good. But understand that once you have a relationship problem, go back to my parenting example, it can't become about you anymore. Okay? It's about fixing the problem. And so that the focus needs to change, it needs to shift. Okay? People have certain attitudes about parenting. But again, this is the conversation that people need to have. So again, when I'm doing training, I understand where I'm at. I truly reconcile what behavior issues represent. Okay, I'm connecting dots the right way. And so I'm dialed in properly. Okay, so I'm not looking at positions that way. It's interaction. It's the interaction part of it that I'm focused in on. So understand that when I'm dialed in, when I'm asserting influence, you see me move in certain ways. There's certain things that are happening, okay, that other people aren't seeing, okay, from just watching the video, because I understand they have a certain way of thinking, but I'm dialed in differently, And so when the dog is, again, you'll see the head turning in. There's what I call agreeableness happening at all levels. In fact, even when you see say I'm using the collar a certain way, people look at that, but there's release points happening all the time. Okay, understand it's the role of influence. How I'm doing, I'm ahead of the curve of the dog's mind. Okay, so I'm dialed in differently in a good way, which is going to, again, change perceptions the right way. But again, when you consider the parent example, a parent that's invested, is in the child's airspace a certain way. It's not necessarily to cause, conflict. Again, understand that it is a power play, though. Understand that, in terms of what needs to happen to process, it has to be that. Okay, it's not meant to create a high conflict, or because understand it's about method, it's about technique. It's about understanding how to do it. There is accommodation happening as you're doing it because you want agreeableness. That's the whole point. But you don't want to fall on the side of bribery. Okay, this is what is the problem in the dog training world. So many trainers don't even know where that line is. They don't know, and because if they knew, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing in the first place. Okay, the only way to gain context to truly make sure that perceptions are changing in a intentional, predictable way is to, again, engage the way I'm showing with an interaction-based approach to really know. And again, when I talk about reward, okay, understand I'm going through a very intentional sequence. People have no clue how much critical thinking went into this system. If you watch my service dog training videos, the process, you'll see me begin to reward dogs at a certain point, because then that's not an issue anymore, okay? But it's understanding where you're at. It's understanding why you want to do things a certain way to make sure you have a predictable outcome. See, that's what it's about, is having predictable outcomes, because you want to save dogs' lives. Understand, you don't want to get into this whole thing, and this happens with balance trainers as well, because understand something, I understand very well what's happening by way of this idea and how it's applied and the outcomes with that, is that if you're aligned with that, dogs are going to get the blame at a certain level. It might even seem to make sense. But again, that's problematic. So again, all to say that, when you're watching my videos, just really think about what's happening beyond the appearance of things. In fact, this is why when I put video content out, I'm going through every day. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. And I'm showing it more so on the board and train videos because I'm going to people's homes all the time, but I'm not showing content that way because the privacy of individuals. But the board and train videos really showcase the system, okay? And even the service dog training, I show it on purpose so people can really see it. I'm putting it out there for people so you can make an informed decision. But again, when you watch my videos, think about depth, okay? Think about being dialed in. Think about the role of influence. Think about all those things, but then think about the parenting example. It'll help you a lot make sense as to why it is you want to stay away from, okay, systems or approaches that jump in that way, both balance and force-free. They're doing the same thing. They're jumping in, and this is why some people can't get the dogs to a certain level. The dogs get the blame. It's somebody else's fault. Well, no, it's a fault of this idea. That's what and understand what's going on in the dog training world. So many trainers, they can't even look at it anymore because it's they've already sold out. Making money. Just think about letting people pet all their dogs during a process, right? Setting up those type of expectations. It makes you feel good, and you're getting something out of the deal. But in the end, for many people, many dog owners, for dogs, it's a bad deal because it's like immediate gratification, but it's based on appearances and assumptions that more often than not just are not true. Okay, regarding perceptions of dogs changing, and just think about that. Take it to the parenting example again. I talked through this, so. When you're listening a response out, pulling out the Xbox games, focus on making the bad. Think about the good actions part of it, and then just selling it that way. Say, here you go, you're good to go. Well, the question is, well, are you really good to go? Or are you leading people into assumptions that aren't true based on a counterfeit picture? That's exactly what's happening in the dog training world. So, again, I encourage anyone watching my videos is really take the time to consider, think about it, because understand there's a difference for you and your dog. It matters. Okay, you're the one that's going to lose. For trainers who are making money off of this stuff, they just move on. They just move forward. They can go through and they can blame because it's a culture, and they actually at a place at a moment in time in the dog training world where they actually count on people to accept the blame. They depend on it. That's how they're making their money. They don't want you to question anything. Well, you should question everything because for you and your dog, It's critical. It matters. Okay, and I care about dogs the right way. This is why, again, I approach training the way that I do, because every individual, every dog truly does matter. Thanks for watching.